Is it finally to turn bullish on gold, silver, and change my bullish perspective on the dollar index? In today's video, I wanted to talk about what has been going on with my trading and what I am watching today going into the CPI that is releasing later today, especially when it comes to gold, silver, and the dollar index. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This is Sterling Trades. If you're new here, welcome very much. For those who are returning subscribers, welcome very much. So I've been missing in action for about 2 weeks. I haven't posted a video for about 2 weeks. It's been both a mix of um, what's happening in my life outside of trading, as well as the fact that I haven't been very much active in the markets for the last 2 weeks. I haven't had that many setups, or rather, I think I've only had one or two setups in the last 2 weeks. Markets have been a little slow, at least from my strategies perspective. Yeah, but it's time to look at what the markets are doing, look at what the numbers are telling us, and see if we can catch any setups today heading into CPI or after the CPI news release. So let's start with walking through what I had, some of the trades that I had, and then we will look at what's coming up. So the last trade I took was this Dow Jones trade, a US 30 trade, which was a rather clean flag for me. Um, as you can see, there was quite a nice momentum pushing higher, and then we saw the market sort of consolidate a bit or pull back a bit. With price pulling back, I think to the 50% level of the Fibonacci level, and it gave me a nice clean flag here, nice clean flag here. And then we saw an inside bar from around here. This is on the 4-hour time frame. We saw an inside bar form around there, and all I waited for was the closure above the high of the inside bar. After it closed higher than that, I waited for the pullback, and I got a nice entry here. I think I got about a 3 RR. Yeah. Unfortunately, I did not hold this all the way to take profit. I think I took profits around here before the close of the week on Friday. It was on a Friday. Yeah, Friday. And then, yeah, when the markets opened on Monday, they pushed higher all the way to my TP. But I've of late I've not been holding trades over the weekend, so that's why I closed before the market closed on Friday. Yeah, it was a nice clean trade. I hope to get back to holding trades over the weekend. No, I'm avoiding holding trades over the weekend, especially during this conflict with the US and Iran. So the only other setup I had was this Ethereum trade. Again, it was a flag setup. Price pulled back to the 50% level, and yeah, it was also a flag setup. However, as I've said before, I usually like if the price is going to move, I usually like moving in my direction. Well, not immediately, but when it starts consolidating at that level, I usually prefer to get out of the trade and wait to see direction the price will be heading to. Yeah, so I exited this trade at break even. I think previously I had shown you, I think a similar setup where I think it was GJ, where I had a flag set. I had a flag pattern and an entry. I think it was here. I think it was around here. but price started consolidating at that level. It was a buy position, and I just exited because of the consolidation. I don't like being caught in consolidations. Um, Not merely because I feel, but because yeah, my data has shown me that when I'm in consolidations, I don't do well. So I just exited the trade, I think at break even, and you can see the next thing that happened. I think this was after the yen intervention when the BOJ was trying to strengthen the yen. So yeah. So that's been it. That's what I've had for the last 2 3 weeks, I believe. So let us now look forward. What am I looking at? Let's start with the numbers, right? So last week we did see the NFP. Was it last week? Yeah, last week we did see NFP being released. That was significantly fewer jobs than expected. I think the week before that we had the Fed rate, yeah, with the Fed holding at 3.75, and we saw week CPI last week, and later today we are waiting for CPI, and we'll see how the numbers come out. So, what am I looking at for gold? So, I'm I'm bullish on gold, fundamentally speaking, as well as from a technical perspective. So, for most of this year, gold has been bearish. um, Especially the last few months. But recently, we saw it break above around the 43.75s level, which for me was a break of structure. As you can see, when it closed above here, it was a clean break of structure or a change of character. So this shows me that we are moving from the bearish environment we were in for gold and probably into a bullish environment. And you can see that the move has had quite some momentum. It's been quite an aggressive bullish push, and so yeah, I'm bullish on gold, but I don't yet have a position on the same until we see how the CPI number comes out today. So I'm waiting to see if we get some sort of pullback from these levels, possibly back all the way to around 4300 level, where we could see it push higher, or even see it if we can pull back maybe to the 50% level, which is around 4200, and then at which point maybe I would take my position. So I'm waiting to see how the CPI number, how the inflation number comes out, and the effect that has on gold. Of course, we might see gold rally, um, fail to pull back and just rally from this point on. Um, that is if the inflation number comes in lower than expected. So yeah, I'm not going to chase price if it decides just to rally. I'm more or less waiting for a pullback, at which point then I would get a better entry, maybe around here or around here, preferably around the 4200 level. It's not about preference, it's about what price does. So I'm waiting to see what happens today. So currently I don't have any position, but I am bullish on gold, both from a fundamental perspective and from a technical perspective. Similarly, we have more or less the same thing on silver, where silver was as bearish as gold was in the last few months, and now we have seen some bullish momentum, and it broke above structure. So now, and again, on the higher time frame, I think on the weekly time frame, you can see it's completed this flag pattern with a bounce from the bottom, and on the lower time frame you can see that it has broken structure. So I'm looking to see if we get a pullback. If we do well and good, then I'll get an entry at this level, so our support is. If not, then yeah, we'll look to see if we get an entry later. Important thing for me is to not chase price. I'm not looking to chase price. Yeah, I'll wait to see if price gives me the best entry possible. So in a snapshot, this is a strong trend. So I'm looking for a pullback where to see support holds either around this level, or we could see it push back to this level, and at which point we see that bullish momentum kick in again, where buyers step back in, and we see a continuation of that bullish momentum. So that for me is more attractive than buying when price is already extended. Yeah, I should have started with the dollar index. So we've seen in the last few days, we have seen the dollar index sort of undo some of the bullish push that it had done in the last couple of weeks, and yeah, after it broke above this consolidation area. After it broke up out of this range, it had been stuck for about a year. We've seen it push back into that zone, but now it seems support seems to be holding. So we could either see it bounce from this level or break down below. So I think CPI today is going to be such a huge determinant of which direction the dollar index, because if we see CPI come in hotter than expected. So that means if inflation is higher, we could see the dollar strengthen, because that means that the Fed is likely to be hawking. So if inflation comes in hotter, we can see the dollar index bounce off from this support zone and continue with the bullish momentum. If inflation comes in cooler, that means the Fed is more likely to lean dovish, and we could see it break down below the support level and see it push lower and push back into this range. And I think if inflation comes in cooler than expected, then we could see the case for a dovish Fed being significantly stronger, because if we look at the let's look at the NFP numbers that have been coming out recently. You can see the jobs market since March has been showing significant weakness. Just look at the trend since March. It's been job losses after job losses after job losses, and right now for the month of June, you could see the Fed, not the Fed, the U.S. economy lost 23,000 jobs. They did not create any. In fact, there were 23,000 jobs that were lost. So if inflation comes in cooler, then the case for a dovish Fed becomes, significantly strong. And yeah, if that inflation does come in cooler, then you could see you could see gold just rally on from this point and continue to push higher. And in that scenario, if gold just explodes higher immediately, then I don't want to chase price. I'll just stay out and wait for the best entry I can get. Uh, and a quick look at what the yields have been doing, been pushing higher and higher gradually. And yeah, we can see a bit of pullback for the last, well, it's been a while. Yeah, you can see a bit of pullback for the last couple of days. That's on the 2-year yield. Let's look on the 30-year yield, what has been doing as well. Again, almost a similar case. So yields have been pricing in higher interest rates, but we can see the last 2 days that sentiment has sort of cooled down. Yeah, so seeing what CPI today and PPI tomorrow does will be rather interesting for me. The important thing for me right now is to just be patient. I know setups have been dry, but yeah, we might see a few setups coming up in the next couple of days. So I'm also waiting to see if I get a setup here, a similar setup here on the Dow Jones. Um, Waiting to see if I can get a flag pattern up here. If it does pull back to the at least the 50% fib level, let me delete the previous one. Okay, let it stay there. If it does pull back to the 50% fib level, at which point then I would be looking for my buy entries, targeting those highs. Yeah, so this will be an almost similar setup to what we had here. If you can see, it pulled back all the way to the 50% level, and again, I'm looking for something similar. I also have, yeah, I'm also waiting to see if we get some sort of similar setup on USD Um, waiting to see if it gets to this support resistance, stand support now, again, possibly at resistance level. It will also be the 61.8% fib level, at which point I would be looking for short setups, a sell entry. Again, not all these ideas usually turn into, a trade that I execute. Some don't work out, some don't pan out, some do. So the important thing for me is to wait for price to come to my level. If it does, I get an entry. If it doesn't, wait for the next one. We had something sort of had something similar with the Nasdaq, but I did not get an entry here. Why? The pullback did not get to at least the 50% fib level. As you can see, it didn't quite get there. And for me, it either gets there or it doesn't. And in this case, it did not. So I didn't have an entry with that. Yeah. So it's again a wait and see game right now. So overall, I am bullish on gold. I am bullish on silver, but I'm not. I'm not going to chase price. I'm just going to wait and see if price comes to me. And CPI today could potentially give me that opportunity where if we see inflation come in hotter than expected, we could see gold and silver get that pullback and maybe get that continuation. Again, remember it's a probabilities game, right? No one is a prophet. You just align yourself with your analysis. So I'll see you again after CPI data has been released. Stay safe out there. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to remember to like, share, and subscribe. And yeah, I think we'll see each other after the CPI news release and see the aftermath of that. Yeah, so let's wait and see. Ciao, guys. Remember to stay safe out there. May the peace be